In a world dominated by the constant buzz of social media, it can feel like the very fabric of our existence is entwined with the digital world. From the moment we wake up, we're connected to a stream of updates, likes, shares, and comments. We are encouraged, even expected, to document our lives for others to see. Our achievements, our struggles, our moments of joy, all of it is out there for the world to judge, celebrate, or forget. The pressure to stay engaged, to maintain an online presence, is real and pervasive. But amidst all this, there are a growing number of people who choose a different path. They decide to step away from the digital noise, refusing to share their lives on social media. They don't post pictures, they don't update their statuses, and they certainly don't feel the need to chronicle their every move. At first glance, this might seem like a strange choice in a world where social media is such an integral part of daily life. But why do they make this choice? What is it about the online world that they've chosen to avoid? The answer lies in the psychology of human behavior. For some, social media isn't just a tool. It's a source of anxiety, stress, and a constant comparison that can erode self-esteem. It's a space where we often measure our worth by likes and comments, where our sense of belonging can feel tied to the number of followers we have. For others, social media serves as a constant reminder of how much we are exposed. Our lives, our personalities, and our actions constantly under the scrutiny of others. The need to share and be seen, however subtle, can feel overwhelming at times. In choosing to step back from all of this, these individuals regain something essential: their peace of mind, their authenticity, and most importantly, their control. Choosing silence in a world that thrives on visibility is not an act of rebellion. It's an act of self-preservation. It's a conscious decision to protect one's mental health and to prioritize one's inner world over the endless, often shallow, distractions of the outside world. The more we understand the reasons behind this choice, the more we realize that those who choose not to participate in the social media frenzy are not rejecting the world around them. They are simply choosing to protect their space, their boundaries, and their sense of self in an increasingly chaotic digital age. So, why is it that some people avoid the noise of social media? What is the psychological impact of such a choice? How can we learn from their ability to resist the pull of constant exposure and, in turn, cultivate our own sense of peace and focus? In the following chapters, we will explore these questions and more, delving into the psychology behind those who choose silence and the benefits that come with stepping away from the digital spotlight. We'll uncover how avoiding social media can be a powerful tool for self-mastery, emotional control, and ultimately, inner peace. In doing so, we'll discover how the simple act of not sharing can give us back something that is increasingly rare in today's world: control over our lives and our minds. Chapter 1. The Power of Silence. In today's world, where sharing is the norm and visibility is often equated with success, the power of silence can seem almost foreign. We live in an age where our lives are constantly on display. The moment we wake up, we're encouraged to document our actions, whether it's a picture of our breakfast, a quick check-in at the gym, or a status update about how our day is going. Social media has turned the private into the public, making it easy for us to become addicted to validation through likes, comments, and followers. The question is, in this overwhelming tide of constant sharing and exposure, what happens when we choose to remain silent? Silence is more than just the absence of noise. It is a powerful tool for reclaiming control over our lives and emotions. Choosing silence, especially in the context of social media, is an act of self-preservation. It's a choice to prioritize peace over approval, authenticity over imitation, and true connection over surface-level interactions. When we decide not to share every detail of our lives, we are doing more than just withholding information. We are actively protecting our mental space and emotional well-being. In a world that often feels too loud, silence becomes a refuge. It provides space for reflection, growth, and introspection. By stepping away from the constant need to post, share, and compare, we create an opportunity to reconnect with ourselves. We can reflect on our feelings, our thoughts, and our desires without the external noise of others' opinions or the pressure to conform to societal expectations. In this silence, we find clarity. We find the ability to hear our own voice above the chaos of the digital world. This choice to remain silent is not about isolating oneself from the world. It's about choosing to engage with the world on our own terms. It's about creating boundaries that protect our emotional energy and mental health. The pressure to share everything can often lead to burnout, anxiety, and a loss of self-identity. We may begin to live for the validation of others, measuring our worth by the number of likes or comments we receive. Silence allows us to step out of that cycle and redefine what success and happiness mean on our own terms. Imagine a life where you are no longer tied to the constant need for external validation. A life where your worth is not determined by the number of people who see your posts or the amount of attention you receive. Instead, you are free to live authentically, choosing when and what to share without feeling obligated to do so. This freedom is the power of silence, the ability to protect your space, your peace, and your true self. But how do we cultivate this power? How do we choose silence in a world that constantly pushes us to be loud, to share, to perform? The first step is to recognize the value of stillness in our lives. It's about being present in the moment without the need to capture it for others to see. It's about learning to appreciate the small, quiet moments that define who we are, rather than the moments that are simply designed to impress or gain attention. When we make the decision to embrace silence, we are giving ourselves permission to be authentic. We are choosing to disconnect from the noise, to stop performing for an invisible audience, and to start living for ourselves. Silence is not a void. It is a space for growth, for self-reflection, and for inner peace. It is the foundation upon which we can build a stronger, more grounded sense of self. The power of silence is profound. It allows us to reclaim control over our lives and our minds. It enables us to step away from the chaos of social media and reconnect with our true selves. When we embrace silence, we are not only protecting our mental health, we are nurturing our personal growth, our self-mastery, and our inner peace. In the next chapter, we will dive deeper into the fear of exposure and why so many of us feel the need to share every aspect of our lives online. We'll explore how the fear of being judged or overlooked can drive us to seek constant validation, and how stepping away from this need can lead to greater emotional freedom and self-empowerment. Chapter 2. The Fear of Being Exposed. In today's digital age, we are constantly encouraged to share our lives with the world. From the smallest details to the most significant moments, we are told that sharing is not just a choice, but a necessity. Social media platforms thrive on this culture of exposure, and it's almost expected that we present our lives for public viewing. But for some, this exposure is not liberating. It's terrifying. The fear of being exposed online is a very real and often overwhelming experience. When we post something online, we open ourselves up to the judgment of others. We relinquish control over how we are perceived, and we give others the power to define us. This lack of control is at the heart of the fear of exposure. It's not just about privacy, it's about the fear of how others will interpret our words, images, and actions. The possibility of being misunderstood, misjudged, or criticized is enough to make many people avoid sharing themselves online altogether. For many, the fear of exposure is deeply rooted in the need for validation. We are social creatures, and we seek acceptance from others. In the online world, likes, shares, and comments have become a form of social currency. The more we share, the more we hope to receive validation from others. But when we share too much, we expose ourselves to potential harm. This is where the fear arises. The fear that we may not be good enough, the fear that we may be rejected, or the fear that our imperfections will be exposed to the world. The constant pressure to perform and curate an ideal image for the world can create an overwhelming sense of vulnerability. We feel as though we are walking a fine line between authentic self-expression and the need to conform to societal standards. The fear of being judged or criticized often leads us to filter our lives, to hide parts of ourselves, or to avoid sharing altogether. But what if we could break free from this fear? What if we could choose to embrace the power of exposure without letting it control us? What if we could take back control over our narratives and not let others define who we are? The key to overcoming the fear of exposure lies in understanding the importance of boundaries and the need to protect our mental space. Choosing not to share everything online is not about being secretive or disengaging from the world. It's about reclaiming control over what we choose to expose and what we choose to keep private. It's about protecting our emotional well-being and ensuring that we don't allow external forces to define us. When we stop seeking validation from others, we begin to redefine our self-worth on our own terms. The fear of exposure can be paralyzing, but it can also be liberating. By learning to set healthy boundaries and take control of what we share, we can eliminate the fear that comes with constant exposure. We can embrace our true selves without fear of judgment or rejection. When we choose to protect our personal space and our emotional energy, we create the freedom to live authentically and without fear. In the next chapter, we'll explore the importance of boundaries in maintaining our mental and emotional health. We'll discuss how setting clear boundaries not only protects our inner peace, but also empowers us to live more authentically and confidently in a world that often pressures us to conform. Chapter 3. The impact on mental health. In a world where social media has become an integral part of our daily lives, it's hard to ignore the impact it has on our mental health. While social media has its benefits, connecting people across distances, providing a platform for self-expression, it also brings with it a host of mental and emotional challenges. The constant bombardment of updates, notifications, and images can lead to feelings of inadequacy, anxiety, and burnout. The mental health effects of social media are not always obvious. On the surface, we may feel connected and engaged, but the constant need to check our feeds and stay updated can lead to a sense of emotional exhaustion. Studies have shown that spending excessive time on social media can increase feelings of loneliness and isolation, even when we are interacting with others online. This paradox exists because, while we may be connected to people digitally, we often lose the deep, meaningful connections that come from face-to-face interactions. The endless stream of curated images on social media can also contribute to unhealthy comparisons. We compare ourselves to others based on what we see on their profiles, often only the highlights of their lives, and feel inadequate in comparison. This can lead to negative self-esteem and a distorted sense of self-worth. We begin to believe that our own lives are not as exciting or fulfilling as those of others, leading to feelings of envy and dissatisfaction. Furthermore, the pressure to constantly perform online, posting the perfect photo, sharing the perfect status update, can create a constant sense of anxiety. The fear of not living up to the curated standards of others can be overwhelming, especially when social media becomes a platform where we seek validation and approval from our peers. This need for external validation can create a toxic cycle where our self-worth becomes tied to the number of likes or comments we receive. When those numbers fall short, it can have a detrimental effect on our mood and self-perception. But the impact on mental health doesn't stop there. The digital world is often a space of extreme highs and lows, where moments of excitement and joy are quickly followed by moments of frustration or sadness. This roller coaster effect can lead to emotional instability, making it harder for us to maintain a sense of balance and well-being. The more time we spend on social media, the more we may feel like we are riding this emotional wave, unable to find solid ground. The good news is that we don't have to remain trapped in this cycle. By stepping back and taking control of our digital habits, we can begin to protect our mental health. The first step is acknowledging the impact social media has on our well-being and recognizing when it's starting to take a toll. We can take proactive steps to reduce our exposure and set boundaries that protect our emotional and mental health. Taking breaks from social media, practicing mindfulness, and focusing on real-world relationships can help restore balance and reduce the negative impact social media can have on our mental health. Instead of relying on validation from others online, we can learn to validate ourselves, building a healthier sense of self-worth that isn't dependent on external approval. The mental health effects of social media are real, but they are not permanent. By becoming more mindful of our social media habits and learning to set boundaries, we can protect our emotional well-being. In doing so, we can regain control over our mental health and find peace in a world that often feels overwhelming. In the next chapter, we'll explore the role of boundaries in protecting our mental health and how setting clear boundaries can help us reclaim our time, energy, and peace of mind. By learning to establish boundaries in both the digital and physical world, we can take the first step toward creating a healthier, more balanced life. Chapter 4. The need for boundaries. In a world where the lines between personal and public life are often blurred, setting boundaries has become more important than ever. Boundaries aren't just about physical space, they also encompass emotional, mental, and digital boundaries that protect our well-being. We are living in a time where social media, work, and constant connectivity have made it difficult to distinguish where our private lives end and our public lives begin. Without clear boundaries, we can easily become overwhelmed, burned out, and disconnected from our true selves. The need for boundaries arises when we realize that we are constantly being pulled in different directions by external forces. From work demands to the pressure to engage on social media, we often feel as though our time and energy are no longer our own. We give so much of ourselves to others, whether through social obligations, online engagement, or work expectations, that we lose sight of what truly matters to us. Our peace, time, and emotional energy are spent on things that drain us, leaving little for the things that nurture our souls and support our mental health. Setting boundaries is a form of self-care and self-respect. It's a way of saying, I value my peace, my energy, and my time. The challenge lies in recognizing that setting boundaries is not about being selfish or shutting people out. It's about protecting yourself so that you can show up as the best version of yourself. It's about ensuring that your emotional and mental space remains intact, free from the demands of others that aren't aligned with your well-being. The lack of boundaries is often rooted in a deep desire to please others or to be constantly available. We fear letting others down, disappointing them, or being seen as selfish or unkind. However, this fear can lead us into a cycle of burnout and resentment. By saying yes to everything, we say no to ourselves. We allow others to dictate our time and energy, leaving little room for the things that truly matter: our health, our relationships, our passions, and our own happiness. One of the key reasons we fail to establish boundaries is the belief that we should be available at all times, especially in the digital age. With the advent of smartphones and instant messaging, it's easy to feel like we must respond to every email, text, or social media notification immediately. But this constant availability takes a toll on our mental health. We are always on, constantly responding to the demands of the outside world, never fully able to relax or recharge. This constant state of engagement can lead to anxiety, exhaustion, and a sense of being overwhelmed. The truth is, we don't need to be constantly available to others. Setting boundaries means taking control of our time and energy, prioritizing our well-being and learning to say no when necessary. It's about creating space for the things that nurture us, whether it's spending quality time with loved ones, pursuing a hobby, or simply resting. By setting clear boundaries, we give ourselves the freedom to focus on what's truly important, rather than constantly reacting to the demands of the outside world. So, how can we begin to set boundaries in a world that seems to demand our constant attention? The first step is recognizing the need for boundaries and understanding why they are essential for our well-being. This means acknowledging that it's okay to say no and that our time and energy are valuable. It means understanding that we are not obligated to respond to every text message or social media notification immediately. We have the right to choose when and how we engage with others, and we can set limits to protect our emotional and mental health. One of the most important boundaries we can set is digital boundaries. Social media and constant connectivity can be overwhelming, and it's easy to get caught up in the need for constant validation or comparison. Setting digital boundaries means creating intentional spaces of time where we disconnect from our devices, allowing ourselves to be present in the moment without the distraction of notifications. This can be as simple as setting aside certain hours of the day where you refrain from checking social media or turning off notifications during family meals or personal time. By doing so, we reclaim our time and energy and create a healthier relationship with technology. In addition to digital boundaries, it's important to set emotional and mental boundaries. Emotional boundaries are about protecting our feelings from being drained by the demands of others. This might mean saying no to people who constantly take without giving or distancing ourselves from toxic environments that leave us feeling drained. Mental boundaries are about protecting our thoughts and ideas from being influenced or controlled by external pressures. This could mean saying no to negative self-talk or limiting the amount of time spent on activities that foster anxiety or stress. Setting boundaries also involves creating time for self-care. Self-care is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Taking time to rest, recharge, and nurture our own well-being is essential for maintaining balance in our lives. When we fail to prioritize self-care, we risk burnout and emotional depletion, whether it's taking a walk in nature, reading a book, meditating, or simply doing nothing for a while. Self-care helps us reconnect with ourselves and restore our energy. Boundaries also play a crucial role in our relationships. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect and understanding. When we set boundaries, we show others that we value ourselves and our time. We teach others how to treat us and what is acceptable in our interactions. Setting boundaries in relationships means communicating openly and honestly about our needs and expectations. It means expressing when we need space, when we need support, and when we need to say no. By doing so, we create more meaningful, balanced relationships where both parties feel respected and valued. The process of setting boundaries takes time and practice. It requires self-awareness, self-compassion, and the courage to say no when necessary. It's not always easy, especially if we have spent years allowing others to dictate our time and energy. However, the more we practice setting boundaries, the more natural it becomes. Over time, we will begin to feel more empowered, more in control, and more at peace. Boundaries are not walls that separate us from others. They are the gates that protect our mental and emotional space. They allow us to live authentically without being overwhelmed by the demands of the outside world. When we set boundaries, we take control of our lives and our mental health. We create space for the things that truly matter, our passions, our relationships, and our well-being. By setting clear boundaries, we give ourselves the freedom to live life on our own terms without being constantly pulled in different directions. In the next chapter, we will explore how to embrace solitude as a means of strengthening our sense of self and cultivating peace within. We'll discuss how being alone can be an opportunity for self-discovery and personal growth. and how learning to enjoy solitude can empower us to live more fulfilling lives. Chapter 5. The Influence of Comparison. In a world dominated by social media, where curated images and idealized lifestyles are constantly on display, comparison has become a central theme in many of our lives. It's almost impossible to scroll through a feed without encountering someone else's highlight reel. Whether it's a perfectly styled photo, a vacation on a beach, or a celebration of an achievement, we are constantly faced with the best versions of other people's lives. This can easily lead us into a cycle of comparison where we measure our worth against what others share online. But what happens when comparison becomes a toxic force in our lives? Comparison is natural. As humans, we are wired to compare ourselves to others in order to gauge where we stand in society. It's a deeply ingrained instinct, rooted in our evolutionary need to belong and to succeed within our social group. However, when comparison becomes constant, it can erode our self-esteem, foster feelings of inadequacy, and undermine our happiness. The problem lies in how we compare ourselves, and more importantly, what we are comparing. Social media, in particular, amplifies this cycle. The platforms we engage with are built to showcase the most curated, filtered, and polished versions of people's lives. We see only a fraction of the reality, often unaware of the struggles, imperfections, or behind-the-scenes challenges that come with these idealized portrayals. Yet, despite knowing this on some level, we still find ourselves comparing our real, unfiltered selves to the shiny, edited versions presented by others. This leads us to believe that everyone else's life is better than ours, that they are more successful, more attractive, more accomplished, or simply happier than we are. The problem with comparison is that it is based on an incomplete picture. We compare our struggles, doubts, and insecurities to the polished highlights of someone else's life. In doing so, we forget to acknowledge our own achievements and progress. The more we compare, the more we focus on what we lack instead of celebrating what we have. It becomes a cycle of dissatisfaction and self-criticism where we feel as though we are never enough. This can lead to anxiety, depression, and a distorted sense of self-worth. One of the most damaging aspects of comparison is that it takes away our ability to be content with where we are. We begin to believe that in order to be happy, we must measure up to the standards set by others. This can create a constant state of pressure to keep up with the latest trends, to look a certain way, or to achieve more in order to feel worthy. As a result, we lose sight of what truly matters: our own happiness, well-being, and a sense of fulfillment. The key to breaking free from the cycle of comparison is to recognize that our value is not determined by how we measure up to others. We are each unique individuals with our own strengths, talents, and journeys. Instead of focusing on what others have or what they are doing, we need to focus on ourselves, on our growth, our progress, and the things that bring us joy. Comparison often stems from a lack of self-awareness and self-acceptance. When we embrace who we are, flaws and all, we no longer feel the need to compare ourselves to others. We learn to value ourselves for what we bring to the table and appreciate our own path, free from external judgments. One of the first steps in overcoming the toxic effects of comparison is to practice gratitude. When we take the time to appreciate what we have, our accomplishments, our relationships, our personal growth, we shift the focus from what we lack to what we already possess. Gratitude allows us to celebrate our own journey without feeling the need to compete with others. It helps us see the beauty in our own lives rather than looking to others for validation or approval. Another important practice is to limit our exposure to sources of comparison. If social media is triggering feelings of inadequacy or jealousy, it may be time to take a break or unfollow accounts that perpetuate these feelings. We can curate our digital spaces to include accounts that inspire us, promote positivity, or align with our values. By consciously choosing what we expose ourselves to, we can reduce the negative impact of comparison and begin to foster a more supportive and empowering environment online. It's also important to remember that everyone has their own struggles, even if they aren't visible on social media. The perfect image of someone's life doesn't mean that they are free from challenges or hardship. We often fail to consider the behind-the-scenes moments that don't make it into the highlight reels. When we remember that everyone is facing their own battles, it becomes easier to let go of the need to compare. Comparison also steals our sense of personal identity. When we constantly look at others and measure ourselves against them, we lose touch with who we truly are. We start to define ourselves by external standards rather than by our own values and desires. This creates a disconnect between our true selves and the personas we project to the world. To counteract this, we need to embrace our authenticity. We need to stop trying to fit into someone else's mold and start embracing the unique qualities that make us who we are. The more we lean into our authentic selves, the less power comparison has over us. The truth is, there will always be someone who seems to have it all together. There will always be someone who appears to be more successful, more beautiful, or more accomplished. But this does not diminish your worth. Your journey is unique, and the path you are on is your own. Success is not measured by how we compare to others. It is defined by how we show up for ourselves, how we grow, and how we live in alignment with our values. In the next chapter, we will explore how to detach from the need for constant validation and how embracing solitude can help us rediscover our true sense of self. By learning to live without the need for external approval, we can begin to cultivate deeper self-awareness, confidence, and inner peace. Chapter 6. The Illusion of Perfection. In the world of social media, perfection is often glorified. We scroll through our feeds and see carefully curated images of flawless beauty, success, and happiness. Everyone seems to have it all figured out, their lives looking picture perfect. These portrayals create an illusion, the idea that life should be flawless, that we should always look our best, be our best, and achieve more than we ever thought possible. But the truth is, perfection is an illusion. The pressure to attain this unattainable ideal can be both exhausting and damaging. Perfection, when pursued relentlessly, can lead us to feel inadequate, frustrated, and unworthy. We begin to believe that our lives, our appearances, and our achievements are not enough unless they measure up to the standards set by others. We compare our everyday reality with the highly edited versions of others' lives, leading to feelings of inadequacy and dissatisfaction. What we fail to realize is that perfection is often a carefully constructed facade, a mask that hides the imperfections and struggles that everyone faces. The danger of perfectionism is that it's never attainable. No matter how much we achieve or how hard we try, there is always something else to strive for, something else to improve upon. The pursuit of perfection becomes a never-ending cycle, leaving us perpetually dissatisfied with where we are. We constantly feel as though we are falling short, even though we are often doing our best. In reality, perfection is not something that can be reached, but rather it's a moving target, always just out of reach. When we focus too much on perfection, we forget the beauty in imperfection. Life isn't about being flawless. It's about being real. The moments that truly matter, the ones that make us feel connected, fulfilled, and at peace, are often messy, imperfect, and unpolished. They're the times when we laugh at ourselves, when we stumble and learn, and when we embrace the unpredictability of life. These imperfect moments are where growth happens, where real connections are made, and where true joy is found. Perfectionism also feeds into the cycle of comparison. Social media often presents an idealized version of life, where people post only the highlights, the best photos, the most successful moments, and the happiest experiences. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that everyone else's life is perfect, while ours feels chaotic and flawed. This comparison creates a false narrative, one that says we should always be striving for the same level of perfection that others seem to have achieved. In doing so, we miss the fact that the people we are comparing ourselves to are also imperfect and human. The pressure to appear perfect doesn't just affect our self-esteem, it can also impact our mental and emotional health. Perfectionism is often linked to anxiety, depression, and stress. The constant need to meet unrealistic expectations can lead to burnout and exhaustion. We become so focused on achieving perfection that we lose sight of what truly matters: our well-being, our relationships, and our happiness. We neglect self-care, ignore our emotional needs, and push ourselves to the brink of exhaustion in pursuit of an unattainable ideal. The reality is that we don't need to be perfect. We don't need to have it all together all the time. In fact, it's the imperfections that make us who we are. It's our flaws, our quirks, and our challenges that define us and make our experiences unique. Embracing our imperfections allows us to live more authentically, to let go of the pressure to perform, and to focus on what truly brings us joy and fulfillment. The first step toward embracing imperfection is to change our mindset. Instead of viewing imperfection as something to be ashamed of, we need to see it as a part of our humanity. Perfection is not the goal. Growth, learning, and personal development are what truly matter. By accepting ourselves as we are, with all of our flaws and mistakes, we can begin to release the unrealistic expectations we've placed on ourselves. One powerful way to let go of perfectionism is to practice self-compassion. We are often our own harshest critics, constantly judging ourselves for not measuring up to the standards we've set. But when we approach ourselves with kindness and understanding, we create space for self-acceptance. Instead of berating ourselves for our mistakes, we can view them as opportunities for growth and learning. By treating ourselves with the same compassion we would offer to a friend, we can start to heal the wounds caused by perfectionism. Another way to embrace imperfection is to focus on the process, not the outcome. Rather than obsessing over achieving a perfect result, we can learn to enjoy the journey. Life is not just about the destination, it's about the experiences we have along the way. When we shift our focus from the end result to the steps we take to get there, we free ourselves from the pressure of perfection and open ourselves up to greater creativity, freedom, and fulfillment. Perfection is not the measure of success or happiness. Success is about progress, not perfection. Happiness is about being content with who we are, where we are, and how far we've come. The key to a fulfilling life is not achieving perfection, but embracing the beauty of imperfection. When we let go of the need to be perfect, we can live more fully, more authentically, and with greater peace. In the next chapter, we'll explore how detaching from the need for constant validation can help us live more freely and authentically. We'll discuss the importance of finding peace within ourselves and how embracing solitude can give us the space to grow, reflect, and reconnect with our true selves. Chapter 7. The Benefits of Detachment. In a world that constantly encourages us to stay connected and involved, detachment can seem like a foreign concept. We are taught that we must always be engaged with people, ideas, and events to succeed and belong. Social media has only intensified this pressure, making it seem as though we must be continuously available, constantly reacting to the world around us. But what if detachment, the act of stepping back and disconnecting, was actually a key to living a more peaceful and fulfilling life? Detachment doesn't mean withdrawing from life or becoming emotionally cold. It's not about shutting yourself off from others or avoiding connection altogether. Rather, it's about creating healthy emotional distance from things that drain you, overwhelm you, or pull you away from your inner peace. Detachment is the ability to release the need to control everything and everyone around you, allowing things to unfold as they will. It's about letting go of attachment to outcomes and learning to accept life as it comes, without becoming entangled in the stress or emotional upheaval that often accompanies our attempts to control situations or people. One of the most powerful aspects of detachment is its ability to protect our emotional well-being. When we become too attached to specific outcomes, people, or circumstances, we give up our power. We begin to define ourselves by how others treat us, by how successful we are, or by how much attention we get. These external validations, while comforting in the moment, are fleeting and often leave us feeling empty or unfulfilled. Detachment allows us to let go of these attachments and find peace within ourselves, independent of external influences. In relationships, detachment means creating emotional boundaries that prevent us from becoming overly dependent on others for our happiness or self-worth. We can love others deeply and care for them, but we don't need to attach our sense of well-being to them. This doesn't mean being distant or aloof. Rather, it's about maintaining a sense of individuality and emotional independence, so we don't lose ourselves in the process of loving or caring for others. By practicing detachment, we can cultivate healthier relationships where we give without expecting in return and love without becoming consumed by the need for approval or validation. Detachment also frees us from the emotional roller coaster that comes with clinging to outcomes or expectations. We often place a lot of pressure on ourselves to achieve certain goals, to live up to particular standards, or to meet the expectations of others. When things don't go as planned or when we fail to meet our own high expectations, we can experience frustration, disappointment, or even feelings of inadequacy. But detachment allows us to release the attachment to these outcomes. Instead of obsessing over what we don't have or haven't achieved, we can focus on the present moment and appreciate what we've already accomplished. We learn to embrace the journey, not just the destination. In the context of social media, detachment can be especially powerful. Social media is designed to keep us engaged, constantly comparing ourselves to others and seeking validation. The more we become attached to our online personas, the more we can lose sight of who we really are. We begin to measure our worth by the number of likes, comments, and shares we receive, rather than by our intrinsic value. Detaching from the need for validation on social media allows us to regain control over our lives and our self-esteem. It helps us focus on what truly matters: our real-world relationships, our personal growth, and our mental well-being. Detachment also plays a key role in managing stress. In our fast-paced, constantly connected world, it's easy to become overwhelmed by the demands placed on us. The pressure to be constantly available, to stay updated on the latest news or trends, and to meet the expectations of others can be exhausting. Detachment gives us the space to step back from these pressures and reclaim our energy. When we detach, we allow ourselves to breathe, to slow down, and to reconnect with what is truly important to us. This emotional distance helps us stay grounded, focused, and less reactive to the chaos around us. Practicing detachment doesn't mean you don't care about others or about your goals. It simply means you stop allowing external circumstances to define your happiness or sense of worth. You learn to act in alignment with your values and desires, not out of obligation or fear of judgment. It's about finding the balance between caring deeply and not becoming overwhelmed or consumed by things that are outside of your control. One of the most profound benefits of detachment is its ability to foster inner peace. When we detach from the need for validation, perfection, and control, we free ourselves from the constant emotional highs and lows that come with external circumstances. We learn to find peace within ourselves, regardless of what's happening in the outside world. This inner peace is not dependent on external validation, success, or approval. It's a deep, lasting sense of contentment that comes from within. In practice, detachment can take many forms. It may involve setting boundaries with your time, saying no to things that drain you, or stepping back from toxic relationships or environments. It may mean disconnecting from social media for a period of time, focusing on your own needs, or letting go of the need to please others. Whatever form it takes, detachment allows you to reclaim your energy, your peace, and your sense of self. In the next chapter, we will explore how embracing solitude can further enhance our ability to detach from the noise of the world and reconnect with our true selves. We'll discuss how spending time alone can lead to deeper self-awareness, greater personal growth, and a stronger sense of inner peace. Chapter 8. Finding Peace in Solitude. In a world that constantly encourages connection and interaction, solitude is often misunderstood. We are conditioned to believe that being alone means being lonely, and that true happiness comes from being surrounded by others. Social media, with its constant stream of posts, messages, and interactions, amplifies this notion. The more connected we are, the more fulfilled we are, or so the narrative goes. But what if solitude, rather than being something to avoid, is the key to finding inner peace and a deeper connection to ourselves? Solitude is not the same as loneliness. Loneliness is the feeling of being disconnected from others, of craving companionship or emotional connection. Solitude, on the other hand, is the state of being alone without feeling lonely. It's the conscious choice to spend time with yourself, to disconnect from the noise of the world, and to nurture your own inner world. In solitude, we are free from the distractions and demands of others, and we can reconnect with who we truly are without the need to seek validation or approval from anyone else. In today's fast-paced world, solitude has become increasingly rare. We are always connected, always available, and always in motion. The pressure to be constantly engaged, whether through work, social media, or our personal relationships, leaves little room for reflection and introspection. But the truth is, we cannot find peace or clarity if we are always surrounded by noise. To hear our own thoughts, to process our emotions, and to reflect on our lives, we must carve out time for solitude. The power of solitude lies in its ability to allow us to reconnect with our true selves. When we are alone, we are not influenced by the opinions of others, the distractions of technology, or the expectations of society. We are free to explore our own thoughts, feelings, and desires. Solitude gives us the space to ask ourselves the tough questions. What do we really want out of life? What are our deepest values and priorities? What is holding us back from living authentically? Spending time alone also provides an opportunity for personal growth. In solitude, we can engage in activities that nurture our mind, body, and soul, whether it's reading, journaling, meditating, or simply sitting in silence. These moments of reflection allow us to gain clarity on our goals, our purpose, and our direction in life. Solitude fosters creativity, deepens self-awareness, and helps us discover new aspects of ourselves that we may have overlooked in the chaos of daily life. Many people shy away from solitude because they fear facing their own thoughts or emotions. We live in a world that encourages constant busyness, where distractions are always at our fingertips. But in doing so, we avoid the difficult work of self-reflection and emotional processing. We suppress our feelings, ignore our needs, and remain disconnected from our true selves. Solitude, however, provides the opportunity to confront these emotions and work through them. It is in the quiet moments alone that we can process grief, anxiety, sadness, or uncertainty, and come to terms with the things that may be holding us back. Solitude also teaches us to be comfortable in our own company. In a society that often equates socializing with self-worth, it can be difficult to accept that being alone is not a reflection of our value or desirability. We may feel pressured to always be with others, to fill every moment with activity or interaction. But the truth is, our worth does not depend on our social status or our relationships with others. Our worth comes from within. When we learn to embrace solitude, we learn to embrace ourselves. We develop a sense of inner peace that is not dependent on external circumstances, and we cultivate a deeper connection with our own identity. In solitude, we can also find clarity. The constant noise of daily life can cloud our thoughts and prevent us from making decisions or seeing things clearly. When we spend time alone, we allow our minds to quiet down and our thoughts to settle. In this stillness, we can gain insight into our goals, our relationships, and our life choices. Solitude provides the mental space to process complex emotions, reflect on past experiences, and create a vision for the future. The benefits of solitude extend beyond mental and emotional well-being. Solitude can also improve our physical health. When we disconnect from the constant demands of others and the overstimulation of technology, we allow ourselves to relax and recharge. Solitude helps reduce stress, promotes relaxation, and gives our minds and bodies the opportunity to rest. Taking time alone is not a luxury. It is an essential part of maintaining a healthy and balanced life. Despite the many benefits of solitude, it can still feel uncomfortable or challenging at times. Our minds may race with thoughts, and we may feel tempted to reach for distractions. But it is in these moments of discomfort that the true power of solitude lies. It is an opportunity to sit with our thoughts, to confront our fears, and to learn how to be present with ourselves. The more we practice solitude, the easier it becomes to embrace, and the more we begin to reap its rewards. The key to embracing solitude is to do so without judgment. It's about creating a space where we can be ourselves, free from the expectations of others or the pressure to perform. Solitude is not about being alone in isolation. It's about being present with ourselves in a way that fosters personal growth, self-awareness, and peace. It's about recognizing that we are enough just as we are, without the need for constant external validation or interaction. In the next chapter, we will explore how detaching from the need for constant validation and approval can help us live more authentically. We'll discuss how to let go of the need for external recognition and how to cultivate self-acceptance and inner peace. As we come to the end of this journey, we've explored the intricacies of modern life and how it often pulls us in countless directions. From the constant pressure to share every aspect of our lives online, to the fear of being exposed and judged, to the detrimental effects of comparison and the endless quest for perfection, the world we live in is noisy. It's easy to become lost in this noise, to lose sight of our true selves, and to forget what it means to live authentically. But in the midst of all this, there lies an opportunity to reclaim our peace, our energy, and our sense of self. This journey has not been just about avoiding the chaos of social media or detaching from the expectations placed on us by others. It's been about learning how to embrace silence and solitude as powerful tools for self-discovery and self-care. It's been about recognizing the importance of boundaries in preserving our emotional and mental health. And it's been about breaking free from the toxic cycles of comparison, perfectionism, and external validation that so often dictate our worth. Throughout the chapters, we've seen that silence is not something to fear or avoid, but rather something to embrace. In a world where sharing every detail of our lives has become the norm, choosing to remain silent can be an act of strength and self-preservation. Silence allows us to reconnect with ourselves, to reflect on what truly matters, and to protect our mental space from the constant demands of the external world. By stepping away from the pressure to perform, to please, and to conform, we begin to create the mental space necessary for true growth and self-discovery. We've also learned that the fear of exposure and judgment is deeply ingrained in us. The world, particularly the digital space, often creates a sense of vulnerability when we put ourselves out there for public consumption. But detaching from the need for validation, the need to be constantly visible, and the need to meet external expectations can free us from the shackles of this fear. We don't need to expose every part of ourselves to feel valuable or worthy. True worth comes from within, and by creating healthy boundaries, we can protect our emotional energy from being drained by external forces. The toxic effects of comparison have also been a central theme in our exploration. Social media bombards us with idealized versions of other people's lives, leading us to believe that we must measure up to these standards in order to be happy or successful. The reality is that comparison is not only unfair, but also unproductive. Each person's journey is unique, and our worth is not determined by how we compare to others. By embracing self-acceptance and focusing on our own growth, we can begin to detach from the constant need to measure up. We can celebrate our achievements, however small, and cultivate gratitude for where we are on our journey. Perhaps one of the most important lessons we've learned is that perfection is an illusion. The pressure to present ourselves as flawless, happy, and successful at all times can be overwhelming. But perfection is not only unattainable, it is also unnecessary. Our flaws, our mistakes, and our imperfections are what make us human. It is in our vulnerability and authenticity that we find true connection, joy, and meaning. When we let go of the need to be perfect, we create space for growth, learning, and real, unfiltered experiences. The practice of detachment has shown us that we don't need to be constantly connected to others or to the noise of the world to live a fulfilled life. Detaching from the need to please, the pressure to perform, and the constant cycle of comparison allows us to reclaim our time and energy. Detachment is not about withdrawing from life, but about choosing what to engage with consciously. It's about protecting our mental health by letting go of what no longer serves us and focusing on what truly nurtures our well-being. Solitude, often seen as something negative or uncomfortable, has proven to be one of the most powerful tools for personal growth and self-awareness. In solitude, we find the space to reflect, to process, and to reconnect with our inner selves. It is in the quiet moments of being alone that we are able to hear our true thoughts and desires, free from the distractions of the outside world. Solitude is not loneliness, it is a sanctuary for self-discovery and peace. The more we learn to embrace solitude, the more we discover about ourselves and the more at peace we become with who we are. Ultimately, the journey we've taken together has been about reclaiming control over our lives. It's about learning to live authentically, without the pressure to conform to society's expectations or to seek constant validation from others. It's about understanding that peace, true peace, is found within ourselves, not in the external world. By embracing silence, setting boundaries, letting go of comparison, and accepting our imperfections, we can create a life that is truly our own. We can cultivate a life that is grounded in self-awareness, self-compassion, and inner peace. This journey is not a one-time event. It is an ongoing process. Every day presents an opportunity to practice these principles, to set new boundaries, to detach from unhealthy patterns, and to embrace solitude as a way of reconnecting with our true selves. Life is messy, unpredictable, and often chaotic, but it is also beautiful and full of possibility. By living authentically and protecting our mental and emotional well-being, we can navigate this chaos with clarity, confidence, and peace. In the end, the most important relationship we have is the one with ourselves. When we learn to love, respect, and care for ourselves, everything else falls into place. We no longer need to seek validation from others because we have already validated ourselves. We no longer need to compare ourselves to others because we recognize our own worth. We no longer need to be perfect because we understand that our imperfections make us unique and beautiful. So, as you continue on your journey, remember that silence, detachment, Boundaries and solitude are not just tools. They are powerful acts of self-care. They are the keys to living a life that is grounded in peace, self-mastery, and authenticity. Take the lessons you've learned here and apply them to your life, knowing that you have the power to create the life you truly deserve. You don't need to be everything for everyone. You just need to be yourself, and that is more than enough.